All right. Well, it is 4:02, so I'm sure we'll have some more people joining us, and as they do, I'll just let them in. But I just wanted to get us started. My name is Tarisha Greyhorse. I am the program director here at Friends of the Children Sapa, and I am so honored to be able to welcome you guys to our cultural teachings. As you guys got on, it announced that this Zoom is being recorded, so just know that it is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our new official Friends of the Children Sapa YouTube channel. And I'll put that down at the end. I'll post that link on our Facebook page as well, so you can always go back and review it. But of course, for today, our topic is just traditional protocols. And so, like I said, just so incredibly grateful that Lala Rick um, is one of our cultural advisors for Friends of the Children Sapa, and we would not be able to do this work, honestly, without his guidance and his support. So, Rick, Lala, is there anything you'd like to say to get us started? Or, if you're ready, by all means, you can jump right in.
Okay, thank you. Could you hear me? You good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just good afternoon to everybody, and thank you for joining in to listen. Hopefully, you get some knowledge from the presentation. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. So today we're going to talk about Woahope. And also from this word comes which is like laws or ways of doing things. Uh, so what we're going to talk about is the observance of custom laws and protocol. So one of the things that where we take a lot of our direction from as Lakota people is from what we call the star knowledge. So here we see the Big Dipper. And what coincides with the Big Dipper is the seven spiritual laws and the seven campfires, as they say, the Ocheti Shakoi. And we, as Lakota people, and some of you listening might be from some other group, like maybe the Sisitron or the Wahbetron, the people of the Nakotas uh, and Dakotas, but we are the Lakhotas, and we are a part of the Ocheti Shakomi, which is we are under the Titonga people. So underneath there, there's seven bands, and then under each band is seven more. So like the Oglalas have seven bands underneath them, and this is all based on the Big Dipper. In our language, we call the Big Dipper Wichaku, and it's a story about how we long ago we based everything on the Big Dipper as far as the seven stars. So the seven spiritual laws, the seven campfires, all go underneath there. And there's a story about this young warrior who died and went up into the sky, and the spirits up there used nowadays we use caskets, but long ago they would tie them to uh, a thing that looked like a step ladder, and it was made out of pine saplings and poles, and then they would wrap the deceased person on there, and then with a buffalo robe, and then they would plant four poles, utopachan, they say, and then they would take them up to the hill and put them, and the poles would go through to the forks of the sticks, so they would call it we utopachan agnakapi. So utopachan is four, the four poles. Uh, Agnakapi is to place on top. So this is what it was called. at The the funeral or the burial scaffold was called Hutopachan Agnakapi. So this Big Dipper represented that apparatus where the deceased person is placed. So it's also believed to be the doorway of where the young woman falling star came from. So she in the middle of the Big Dipper where you see the star is where she pulled the team Sila out and then fell through the hole in the sky and came to Earth. And in her fall to the Earth, she died, but her son was born, and his name was Falling Star. So whenever his name in Lakota is Wichachpihichpaya. So long ago, our ancestors, in the days of our grandparents, when we saw a fallen star, then we would say Wichachpihichpaya, and people would pray and smudge, burn sweetgrass, and then offer tobacco in remembrance of the first person that came to Earth. So also inside the Big Dipper dwells Onchi Tomi, the grandmother blue woman, and she has a lot to do with childbirth. Uh, Also, Iglush Akapi, we call it when the woman is with child, and also she oversees conception of a child. So we believe that she lives, dwells where the star is between the Big Dipper, inside the middle there. But she's not visible to other people. But they say that if a woman with child makes offerings and looks up, she will see the star. So the offerings is 28 blue tobacco ties. Somebody that cannot conceive a child, or somebody that is with child. So there's they call them trimesters. So you make offerings at each beginning of each trimester for the child within you. And also you make offerings to Weot Hahokshila, blood clot boy. So you make 7 red tobacco ties for him, and he oversees the flow of blood in life. So the blood flowing through our bodies, he oversees that. And he also oversees it when a child is born. You make offerings to him, and a lot of times, if you don't make the offerings, a woman, when she's giving birth, can bleed to death. Even today, in modern science, with the advances of medical science, that possibility is still there. So we say in our language about the birth of somebody, we say our mothers came close to dying to give life to us. And so we chant e ikiela happy, we say in our language. Our mothers came close to giving their lives. So we make offerings to blood clot boy, we shila, so this doesn't happen to our mothers. And even to this day, like I said, with the advances of medical science, it still can happen, and it still does happen. So this is the protocol of the stars, the Star Nation, of young women that are trying to conceive a child, are carrying a child, and then uh, to the three trimesters and then the actual childbirth. Uh, so they say that at the time of childbirth, then a ceremony is also done with an unchi that is there, a grandmother, who wipes the child with sage and reaches in their mouth and cleans their mouth. Uh, they say that whoever this unchi is passes on their traits to this baby. So it could be a related grandmother or a grandmother in the community that is of good standing can perform this. Uh, Tapi, we call it the ceremony in our language, meaning reaching in the mouth. So we do not, at the time of traditional childbirth, we do not smack the baby on the behind. So they say that's traumatic to that baby. A lot of babies being born in the hospital, this is done to them. But what the unchi that delivers the baby does is reaches in the mouth and then blows into the mouth, so that the baby will kind of like gasp and then catch their breath, and that's their first breath in this world. And so there's a transference of knowledge, there's a transference of the language, there's a transference of the worldview of this Unchi and her generation. So that's how these everything was passed on. And then after after our children started being born in hospitals, then we lost this connection. But some of the hospitals, like on the Pine Ridge Reservation, the hospital there allows a grandmother to, an elder to come in and do this ceremony for the people. So this is how, in the days of our grandparents, this is how we governed ourselves. So at the basis of everything was the spiritual law, Daku Waka. So all of the ceremonies, all of the ceremonial objects, all of the protocols around uh, the sacred things, our ceremonies, our teachings, were all under this, what we call Daku Wakan, the spiritual law. So everything in our everyday world also seen the spiritual law as the foundation of our existence as a people. And then there was the natural law, the Maka'omancha wa Makashka. So uh, the animals in our universe where we live, the different four-legged, the wings of the air, what swims in the water or crawls on the ground, is also governed by the spiritual law, but also the natural law. So, natural law would be, first of all, I'll give an example of a spiritual law. So, a spiritual law would be, uh, say, a woman on her monthly cleansing will not be allowed to uh, attend a ceremony. And the reason for that is because she is also in a spirit, she's also in a purification ceremony. And that's the ability to give life and give birth is powerful. No medicine man with his ceremony can duplicate that. So that's really powerful. So the power of the woman clashes with the power of the medicine man and his medicines. So that's one spiritual law, and other people can come up with others that, like whenever I do these teachings among people, then I ask them what is their idea of a spiritual law. So some of them come up with the different ones in there, but there's a lot of spiritual laws that we still live by. One is those of you that are familiar with Sundance and have been to Sundance know that you cannot cross the East Gate. That's one of the laws, and that's the reason for that is the spirits enter from the east, and when you go across that, you block them, and so the spirits will stop coming through that east gate. So they'll have to resmudge and then make prayers there, and then open the gate again. And then the natural law is makaon tawa makashka. So the laws that the birds and the animals and the four-legged all live by also. So a natural law would be with us as humans. With natural law is we never killed more than we needed. We only killed enough to uh, survive as a people. And then we have the custom law, which is oyate o peach api. So how we interact with each other. Uh, so within that is like say giving our chair to or a place where we're sitting to an elderly, or feeding the elders first, feeding the children first, feeding the people that are infirm, like sick or aren't able to walk like that. So that's how we did it. And long ago, when we moved camp, it was the elders and the infirm, the Ohunkeshni, we say in our language, who determined the pace that we traveled at. So that we never moved ahead, the healthier people never moved ahead and left the elderly or the sick or the children behind. So they were always in the middle, and we surrounded them, and we uh, we made sure that they were safe and that we didn't they didn't tire themselves out. And where we learned this was from the Wama Kashkan Ayate. The If you see a herd of buffalo moving, that's who determines the pace is the older buffalo. Same with the wolves too. When the wolves move in a pack, if there's any that are old or that are sick, they determine the pace of how fast they move. And also among the buffalo, if you threaten them, the bulls come out to the outside to protect the females and the calves, the young buffalo, and they move counterclockwise, and the buffalo on the inside move clockwise. So if you ever go to a powwow and when they dance, this is how they do it. Among the Oglalas, we still do that. So when we uh, you go to a powwow among the Oglalas, the men move counterclockwise, and the women and the children and the inside move clockwise. So this comes from the buffalo and how they protected each other. Other tribes maybe know it too and follow it. I'm not sure, but I know the Oglalas do. Oh, and then there's the governance or social law, like Oyate Ptaila. So they all, if you notice by now, they all interact with each other. So custom law, I said like what we learned from the Mama Kashkoyate, the four-leggeds, and even the winged of the air. All of these have their own laws also. And then the governance of social law, the Oyate Ptaila, the people as a group. So, like say the Oglalas, when we camped, you had a certain place to camp. The chiefs were opposite the east side of the camp circle or the door, and that was the place of honor. Patku, we called it in our language. That was the place of honor. Each person knew where they were going to camp. The medicine men had a certain place to camp. Different leaders, the different society leaders, the Nacha, the leaders of the Teoshwais, they all had a place to camp. Uh, and so the governance of that people I'll show later on in the slides. So Chanumpa Tawopre, the four laws of the sacred pipe. So the first one is never lie with the sacred pipe. So when you're holding a pipe, You should never lie. Dohani chanopale le yuha oie ni wakhankdishni. Then the next one is never turn your back on your people. So oyate ki wachiniam hanta hiya ehinkdishni. When your people depend on you, you can never turn your back. You can never say no. Never use the pipe to hurt anyone. Chanumpa kile yuha dohani tueni unthuyenkdishni. And then the last one is when I receive the pipe, I will do whatever is asked of me. Chanupa opalki kile iwachuki doketu ash ichamukte. So these are when you carry the sacred pipe. These are the four laws that are the foundation of carrying that sacred pipe. So this is why you go to a Sundance when those dancers come up to ask the people if they can take a rest. The people send people out to receive the pipe. People don't know that the people can refuse if they're watching and they say the pipe keeper, they tell him no, they haven't danced long enough, they haven't suffered enough, they can refuse the pipe. So when those sun dancers come up, they offer that 4 times, which is representative of these 4 laws. So if that person receiving the pipe or the pipe keeper, the one that watches the pipes, if he receives the pipe, then he's agreeing to what the sun dancers are asking. So that's why you see people offer the pipe 4 times to also a holy man or a medicine man when they're making a request of it. So in your everyday life, you can see and understand how do these play into your everyday life. How would you how would you live so you never lie with the pipe? How do you live so you never turn your back on your people? How do you live so you never use the pipe to hurt anyone? How do you live so that when you receive the pipe, you will do what you're doing? So I used to hear the famous holy man at different gatherings, and he was up there in age, maybe in his 80s, but he would say in his language, in our language, he would say, "Kushmuke ash wachimam bichawahilo." I was lying in bed ill, but they asked for my help, so I got up and came. So he's living the bottom one. When I receive the sacred pipe, I'll do whatever is asked of me. So there's many times when these medicine men and these holy men have gone into the inipi or into the ceremony while they were sick. They had to put their comfort aside and uh, whatever was asked of them, they fulfilled it. So the spiritual leaders of our people live a hard life because of it. There's a story of a medicine man who is no longer with us. He said that his mother was sick, so they took her to the hospital. So he went there to be with her, and here they brought him a pipe and wanted him to go do a ceremony. So he left his mother's side and went to do the ceremony. And when he came back, she passed away. So Dr. Wakan, the spiritual law. Um, so the examples of a spiritual law is Vichasha Wakan Tawob, laws that are part of his vision. So each holy man has his own laws that he lives by. Uh, one of the universal laws of all traditional healers, though, is that you never ask for anything in return. You never say, "This is what I want," or "that I want that much money," or "I want this or that." That's a spiritual law that all traditional healers are supposed to live by. And then they have their own laws. Like example would be some medicine men would require certain types of foods according to their vision. Uh, And then the next one is we Yohila Apich Api never attends the ceremony during monthly cleansing. Like I said earlier, that clashes with the power of the medicine man and the the power of the medicine man and the power of the medicine that's being given. Never walk in front of a person smoking a chanupa, sacred pipe. So that in Lakota, tua chanupa maji umpe hanta itkokab ilaning tishni. And the reason for that is when he's smoking that pipe, he's making a connection to the spirit world and to the spirit people. So it's the same way as when you walk in front of the East Gate at a Sundance. The same principle applies. And then the next one is never walk across in front of fire keeper hauling the stones at Inipi. And that's for the same reason is that those stones have a spirit and you're going to block the spirit of that stone if you walk in front of that man that is hauling the stones. So toa ian trokshuki he tohani itrokav ilaning tishni. And then the last one is never walk across the east gate at the Sundance. And I already told why that is. So each medicine man or each traditional healer has their own laws in that sense. Uh, some medicine men, holy men, will not bring their what we call his medicine bundle or his a wopie, we call it. He'll never bring his wopie into the room as long as people are talking. Some traditional healers will not allow you to wear shoes into the room where the ceremony is going to be held. So a lot of those are from their own vision or from the protocol of their family or their tioshpai. So it differs from person to person. So here is the wo shakomi I talked about. So the wo hitike wa ohola wa onshila wo wa kwala wo ksape wa chantognanka and wa chintranka fortitude. Wo hitike bravery wa ohola kin respect wa onshila care and compassion wo wa kwala humility wo ksape wisdom and wa chantognanka generosity, and wachitkanka, fortitude. So these are like spiritual laws that we lived by long ago. And it's something that we handed down through the generations. And you see the big dipper in the middle. Uh, each one of these stars represent one of these spiritual laws. So the natural law, the wamakha omancha wamakashkana ikjevichasha. So the natural law is how we lived with these spiritual entities, these Wamakashkan, the animals that lived in our world around us as a people. How did we live our lives? How did we do it so that the earth remained the same for thousands of years? How did we not change it? How did we do it so that we didn't deplete the forest or we didn't wipe out the animals? How did we do that? That's something that now the outside world could learn from us on how to do that because this world is, as we know, is being polluted. We even had a medicine that we burned that the ozone layer is being depleted, but we had a medicine that helped the ozone layer to not to disappear like what it's doing now. So it's a dilemma for the people now because seen on the news that we're almost to the point of no turning back. We're to the point where we can't remedy the situation of where we're headed because of the pollution. So this is an example of custom law, how you would sit inside of a teepee. So at the Chachgud is the place of honor. That's where the Ichacha or the head of the family would sit. To his right, facing the door, would be the males. To his left would be the females. So probably to his left, that first female would probably be his wife. And then going down would be his daughters from the oldest to the youngest, or could be aunties, however whoever's in the teepee and however they're related. And it's true of the other side too. So we also see this in the Sundance. This is how we dance in the Sundance. The men are to the south, the women are to the north. And it's especially difficult, I think, for the women because they face the sun the whole day. And the men actually have the sun to their back. So the women are stronger in that sense, in that they have to face the sun. So this, you look at it, it represents balance. It's like it's not a hierarchy. Nobody is higher than the others. We're all balanced in the sense that we all have a place in the circle, and no one is higher than the other. The Itkachan, the leader, is not even higher than anybody. So this is the Oyate Tkaomaniche. This is the people's government. How we formed ourselves long ago, before the coming of the before the encroachment on our lands and on our people. So we had four Inilawota, the silent eaters. So they decided on all matters of the Oyate after it got to them. So so one of the things is that this is pre 1934 uh, Indian Reorganization Act. From this type of government went to a government called the Okashpe Yamani, which is 2/3 of the people. And then it came to the IRA government, the 1934 Indian Reorganization government. So the Inila Wota are the four old men that oversaw everything. And then there's two Wakichums on each side. So there's four of each one. Then there was four Wichasha Yatapika. And then the Nacha were the chosen headmen of the Tioshpa, and then the warriors, and then the people. So if something couldn't be resolved, then it moved towards towards the Chatku of the camp circle. So the representatives. So sometimes the Nacha can resolve something, a dispute or something. If it can't be resolved by them, and then it would move to the Wakichunze. And the Wichasha Yatopika only oversaw uh, matters of war. So they decided when we went to war. That was the shirt wearers. So the last four shirt wearers that we know of were Crazy Horse, American Horse, Young Man Afraid of Horses, and Sword. So these were the last that wore these shirts. And as we know, Crazy Horse's shirt was taken away by the Inila Wota because he was in love with this young girl, and she was given to an older man for probably political reasons. But he went and took her back after already was married to this man and had children. She actually chose to go with him. So they went on a hunting party, and the man that was the husband of the woman that was he was promised to his name was No Water, and he followed Crazy Horse and her name was Black Buffalo Woman, and he shot Crazy Horse in the face and took his wife back. So the families came together. They resolved uh, the situation. They call it Okijo Wichoka. Is they resolved the dispute within the tribe. So gifts were exchanged, and then it was supposed to be left at that. But one day, Crazy Horse was out hunting and he saw No Water. So he chased him and he shot at him twice. He said, "This is the bullet that you gave to me. I'm sending it back to you." So no water left. Fortunately for him, he had a faster horse, so he got away. So he went to live among other Lakotas. Uh, so the Inilawota said, after everything was resolved, you still tried to take revenge, they told Crazy Horse. And they took his shirt from him. They said, "You put the people in danger when you were sworn to always protect him. You almost caused a war between the people by doing that." So they unshirted him, and it never was given back to him. And then American Horse, my grandfather, his shirt was taken from him too because he took the law into his own hands. This man and his sons were stealing horses from our own people and selling them to white people in outlying towns like Hot Springs and Rapid City, like that. So he went to arrest them because the Indian police was afraid of them. And so he went to arrest them and they resisted and pulled their guns. So he was quicker than them and he shot the father and then he disarmed the two sons and hit them with his pistol and knocked them out. And he put them in a wagon, all of them, and he took them to the Indian police. And he said, "This is what you should have done." So they said that he took the law into his own hands, the Inila Wota, and they took his shirt from him too. And that's the last time they sat in council. This happened in 1880s, late 18, early 1880s, 1881, somewhere in there. And the man that American Horse killed, his name was Sue Jim, and he was a brother to Little Big Man. So after that form of government, then this second one was called the Okash Beyamnis, a council based on three-quarters of the majority. So what we were called mass general meetings were held, usually held at Fourth of July celebration. So long ago, in this time period, all any type of social gatherings, Hunkan ceremonies, sun dances, naming ceremonies, Ishnati Awichalama ceremonies, the coming of age ceremonies for the young women were all prohibited or outlawed. You could not do any of the seven sacred ceremonies like the keeping of the soul and the throwing of the ball and the Hunkan ceremony, the sun dance, the Hambalecha, the Inipi, and it was a federal law. It was called the Indian Offenses Act. And it was if you were caught doing any of the ceremonies, they would actually take you to Deadwood, South Dakota, incarcerate you. You would stand trial. If they found you guilty, you were sent to a federal prison. So what we did was we said we want to celebrate the 4th of July. So the government said, "Oh, okay, well that's okay." So they allowed us to have the 4th of July celebrations. What they didn't know was we were gathering together to do these ceremonies, like the naming ceremonies, the Honkan ceremonies, and then the old men use it as a time to hold their meetings to to plan for the people, how how the people will be able to live a better quality of life. So such councils could not meet for all the tribal business throughout the year. So it was during the 4th of July when they had their annual meetings. So they were still so this program, I mean this form of government was used at that time. It was called Okash Bayamni, means three-quarters of the majority. So here's a camp circle in 1879. So uh, we see the different ones. So if you're Oglala, if you're from the Oglala people, one of these camp circles you come from. The loafers, the Wagaluke, the unloaded Uyukpe, the bad face are the true Oglala, the Osage, Wajaje, to break into Tiuksa, uh, the spleen band, Tapish Lecha, and Payabia along the hillside. So, so like the Titruma Oyate are broken into seven, which the Oglalas are one of them, and then the Oglalas are broken into seven more, like that. So each one of these bands, like the Loafers, the Wagaluka, have seven Teospies in underneath them. So within each one of these camp circles was seven Teospies. So everything is broken into seven. So my father comes from the Kiuksa, which the people settled in the community of Kaya. My mother comes from the Wajaje. A group of them broke off and went south, and they called themselves the Osage. So these people now live in Oklahoma. There was a movie that came out about them about a year ago. Uh, Killers of the Flower Moon, I think it was called. So a lot of those people still remember their relatives in the Porcupine area. And my mother said they came up here in the 1930s, and they were really financially well off. So they brought uh, buffalo robes and Pendleton blankets and guns and different things and to the Pine Ridge Sundance east of Pine Ridge, and they camped there. And they came in real nice cars and pickups and trucks, and they hauled all kinds of things up and honored their relatives. So a lot of them at that time still remembered their relatives here. So I was fortunate in meeting an elderly gentleman from there. And when I speak the language, Lakota language, he understands me. And when he talks Osage, I understand him too. So we are really, truly one people. So some of you, those of you that are Oglala, you're from one of these camp circles, and I urge you that if you do not know which camp circle you're from, I urge you to find out. And you within those camp circles, find out which Teospire you came from, the seven Teospires that you came from. So you will know who you are. So this is the Omanukoha, which we call the tribal council. So there's 9 districts. We're no longer Teospires. We're no longer bands. We are called districts, and there's 9 of them. So at the head of them, of course, as we know, is the tribal president. And then there's the tribal president, and then there's the vice president. There's the secretary, the treasurer, and the fifth member. That's how our governance is based now. But what I always wonder is can that traditional government fit under this, or can this fit under that traditional government? It'll be interesting to know. But this is under the direction and under the power of the United States government. So at any time, with a stroke of a pen, they can wipe this form of government out. But the other traditional government, where I showed you first, that's under we were a sovereign people then. We negotiated these treaties as a sovereign nation. It's based for us under the sacred pipe. So it'll never go away. That form of government will never die out because of that. That's what we need to go back to, because they cannot, with a stroke of a pen, wipe that form of government out, because that's based on sovereignty in the sense that uh, we were nations, and we had our sacred pipe, and we still have our sacred pipe. We still have our language. We still have our ceremonies. We still have our land base. So we still exist underneath that. So if you go back, We exist up to probably Ozuye people, the Ozuye and the Nacha. We still have the Tioshpais. They still exist. I live in my wife's Tioshpai. They're called uh, Knife Chief, and they lit their sacred fire 4 years ago. Each one of the Tioshpais that are still in existence have a sacred fire. They have a fire keeper. They have a sacred pipe. This Tioshpai where I live is organized. They have headmen and they have the unchis make the decisions. The grandmothers. They have a sundance, so they exist as a people now. So that's how far it is now. That's what the bottom of this circle still exists, but the top part no longer exists. There's no more Wichasha Yatampika, there's no more Wakichunze, there's no more Inilawota. So this is something that we live with as a people because we become assimilated and colonized. So one of the things that our people suffer from now is the colonization underneath and the trauma that has been caused by the colonization, by the alcohol, by the drugs within their communities. So here you have a child, say that they're 10 years old. His father fought in Desert Storm. His grandfather fought in Vietnam. His father fought in World War II, but also is a product of the great boarding schools. And then the great grandparents might have uh, experienced the Wounded Knee massacre. So you look at all of this trauma upon layer of trauma upon our children, our grandchildren. So this plus this 10-year-old child has its own traumas, what it has experienced as a result of all these other ones. So you think about it, our children are up against a lot. And in order for us to survive as a people, we need to uh, heal from these traumas and get strong as a people. And we have ways to do that. We have our own ways. We have our ceremonies, our way of helping ourselves through thousands of years and generations that we still have intact among us. And it's important for us to heal as a people. So this is a support system of long ago before we came on the reservation. So you have the Itachan, the Wichashawakan, the holy man, and here you have the child in the center. So around him are all these people. So he has a aunt, Kumi, he has Lekshi, uncle, he has a mentor, Waunspekia, and then the Tiospai, the extended family, the Tiwahe, his own family, Unchi and Kaka, the grandparents. So these are all people that mentored this child that was in the center. He was the center of everything. And whenever he needed help, these people came together and helped him in whatever way he needed to be helped. So if he was, say, he took ill, then the Wichasawak would come and heal him. But the Tiwahe, the extended family, the Tiospai, the uncle, the aunts, his mentor, and even other children that are his friends and play with him, are his relatives, like his cousins, will all come and support him. So that's how our people were a strong people long ago. So today, the child has these support systems. If this child is in a DSS system, then he has a foster parent, he has his peers, he has child welfare, he has unchi and grandma, tioshpai, the school, the family, the JDC, and the aunt and the uncle. These are the ones that he has today. So it's the support system has shifted vastly among our people. It's no longer family and Tioshpai based. Okay, so that I don't know how much time you have left, but that concludes our talk with about the protocols. Woahope.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. It's always a joy to kind of get to listen to you teach us. So I really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask or put in the chat? I do see there is one question. Marty, I see you have your hand raised. If you want to unmute, go ahead. See your unmute. Oh, I think if you want to put it in the chat too, I can ask it for you. Lala, I see we have a question of, can we get a copy of the PowerPoint slides?
I could send them to you and you could send it to them.
Absolutely, I can do that.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Oh, Gaka, it's Marty Two Bulls Jr. Um,
Hello.
Wopila for your teachings today. Um,
Mm.
I was wondering, as we learn about these, past ways of organizing ourselves and how we cared for one another, what in your opinion or what advice would you give us, towards moving back to some of those traditional ways?
Uh, I would say start with the children while they're very, very young and teach them because not only is it a form of government, but it's also a part of the spiritual part of our lives. Like the seven stars of the Big Dipper and the seven spiritual laws, how they coincide together. Teach them. Uh, if you teach them at an early age about the treaties, about protocol, how we interact with each other, to the point where they know no other way. Like I know of a little boy, he's fluent in Lakota because they spoke to him from the time he was born, all in Lakota, so he speaks now. So does his little brother, and his little sister also answers in Lakota. So that's the turning point of our people is to teach them at an early age, uh, expose them to the culture, the language, the songs, even the form of government, even the treaties. Let them understand that we have treaties and that we're a sovereign nation. So that's how I would do it.
Oh, Wopila.
Hmm.
We do have one more question in the chat. It says, what are the protocols for asking for help or bringing concerns to the Tioshbaye?
It would start with, uh, I would say, it would start with the elders in the Tioshpai, and you would approach them first, and then they would guide you in which way to go and how to do it.
Great. Actually, we probably have time for one more question too, if that's okay. Um,
Okay.
it, it says, you mentioned people should find out which tribal band they come from. Where do they find this information?
Uh, one would be approach elders, uh, and you yourself can do a search like through Ancestry. There's men like Ed Starr that if you tell him who your relatives are through his knowledge, or that was passed down to him orally, he could tell you what Yoshpai you're from and what band you are from. And I could do it up to a certain degree, but um, a lot of people like went away and grew up on outside the reservation and came back. So those are the people that need to go through like census or go to the census too at BIA in Pine Ridge
Mm,
or whatever, wherever your agency is.
fantastic. Well, yeah, I think thank you so much for that, Lala. Like I said, anything we get to hear from you is really just a deep joy. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This will be the first of a series. So we'll post when the next one's available. It will actually be at the end of May. Um, but otherwise, I will get the PowerPoint sent out. I have everybody's email addresses for the most part. And yeah, thanks for joining. Like I said, it'll be on our YouTube channel, and I'll also make sure to post that on our Facebook page. But thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.